The Houston Texans would love to bounce back from the loss to the Minnesota Vikings by beating the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. The injuries that the team is dealing with now are making it tougher and tougher to do that the exact way the Texans would love to do that. Look, you'll take a win no matter what, but you'd love to really bounce back, clean up a lot of stuff, and showcase what you could be over the course of this season against a Jacksonville team that's 0-3. Talking about those injuries, hey, no Joe Mixon, no Tank Dell, and no Dameon Pierce at practice on Thursday for the Texans. That's the starting running back, one of your key wide receivers, and your backup running back not practicing back-to-back days. They're not trending in the right direction for playing on Sunday. And the scary thing is Nico Collins showed up on the injury report. Nico Collins on the injury report with a hamstring injury. So hamstrings, they're tricky. And hopefully this isn't a serious one for Nico Collins. We'll know exactly how serious it is if he practices tomorrow, if he's seen at practice. The official injury designation will come out tomorrow afternoon as well. But Nico Collins showing up with the hamstring injury as limited on Thursday is something the Texans dealt with a couple of weeks ago. They showed up with a player on Thursday's injury report after practicing, no injury designation on Wednesday. Dameon Pierce had an injury on the Thursday injury report in week 2, and he was limited with a hamstring injury. And that was the last time Dameon Pierce practiced for the Houston Texans. Now, I'm no doctor. I don't even play one on TV or radio or however you're consuming this, your phone probably. I don't play one on the internet either, but I know that all hamstrings are not created equal. The good thing would be maybe, hey, Nico Collins felt a little something before practice or after practice yesterday or even during practice and just took it easy and he's going to be ready to go. Heck, even a not practicing Friday with a questionable designation for the game would make me feel okay about Collins's chances to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I just think about what Dameon Pierce went through, the issue that he had. Shows up on the injury report Thursday is limited. Didn't practice on Friday and hasn't practiced since that Thursday practice in week 2. That's not good. And without Nico Collins, man, the gap between the Texans and the Jaguars gets significantly smaller. Collins is the most consistent piece of an inconsistent offense through 3 weeks. I mean, Nico Collins has been the guy on offense, along with C.J. Stroud, where you can point to it and say, that guy's doing his job. You know, those would be the two guys that I would say the most. You could say those guys are taking care of their business. Everybody else has maybe got a hiccup here or there on their resume, but Collins is one of the best players on this team. Mr. Consistency through 3 weeks, and the thought of playing Jacksonville without him, that's a scary little endeavor. The Texans are still good enough to beat Jacksonville without Nico Collins, but it becomes more difficult. And again, you don't get style points in the NFL, but you'd love to have a lot of things solved and showcase the true potential against Jacksonville. The biggest thing is win. It doesn't matter how ugly it is or how nasty you have to play to win. You just win. Without Collins, it's more difficult to win. 3 ways you could maybe go about replacing Nico Collins' production and not have it drastically affect what the Texans are capable of on offense come Sunday. The first way is superstar Steph. Superstar Stefon Diggs could show up, have a huge game like he did for Minnesota and Buffalo so many times, get a ton of targets, have a big day, and just take over the football game. Diggs was one of the most targeted players in all of football, number 2 actually, over the past 4 seasons. And last year, even in what was overall a down year for him in Buffalo, in most people's eyes, certainly in the second half, that first half of the season, he was averaging 11 targets per game and was dominating. Well, the Texans have given Diggs the opportunity to average 8 targets a game. So add a couple more targets Stefon Diggs' way, a little bit more explosive. Bing, bang, boom, superstar Steph shows up and takes care of business for the Texans. That's one way to go about not having Nico Collins. The other way would be Diggs continues to do what he does. He's an integral piece to the passing offense, but you have somebody who's a backup wide receiver step up to the occasion. Is it Xavier Hutchinson, who's had a couple of nice moments here in the young season, including a really nice play last week that got wiped away by one of the illegal formation penalties? Is it Bobby Trees, Robert Woods, the veteran with one throwback game left in him? Could Robert Woods be the guy that would step up? I would assume if Nico Collins can't go, John Mechie would be active for this matchup. He's been inactive for the first 3 games for the Houston Texans. But if Nico Collins isn't going and Tank Dell isn't going in this one, then you'd have to almost have John Mechie active and have him and give that opportunity to Mechie and Hutchinson and Woods to step up in the absence of Nico Collins in this matchup. Of course, the tight ends factor into that too. I'd kind of put them in the category with the backup wide receivers as, hey, your opportunity, step up to the plate and have a big game, a Dalton Schultz game, if you will, perhaps, is what they could have, sort of replace what Nico Collins would have been bringing to the table if he misses this game. That's me knocking on wood. It's a real wood desk. I think it's a real wood desk. That's me knocking on wood. I don't want him to miss this game. The best way probably for me that I would look to see, like, hey, how can you survive without Nico Collins out there if you're the Houston Texans, is those 5 guys up front get rolling and dominate a Jacksonville defense that hasn't played really well and is banged up to high heaven. If those offensive linemen for the Texans have a huge game, talking about keeping C.J. Stroud upright, no need to roll out or scramble to extend a play, just taking care of his business, making some plays from the pocket because the pass blocking's holding up, and then run blocking well in this matchup. I don't know if I could say Indianapolis in week 1, but run blocking well in this matchup just to give Cam Akers and company, if Mixon or Pierce, which they're not on track to play, don't play in this one, give Cam Akers and company opportunities on Sunday against Jacksonville to really run the ball and showcase what they can do. A couple of more B buttons from Cam Akers, hit that little spinneroonie that he does to defenders so often. That's, to me, the way. You just go in there, be physical, dominate the other team, don't let them touch the quarterback, and just get after it from that standpoint. That's the ideal way. Let C.J. Stroud distribute to whoever gets the most open, supplement it with a good rushing attack, put a lot of heat and pressure on what the Jaguars are going to do offensively, and set yourselves up for a victory in this one. I'd love to see that because we have a lot of questions, me included. I'm with you. A lot of questions about this offensive line and what they can bring to the table after that disappointing performance in Minnesota. And really, out of the 3 games, they've only had one facet of the game look good, and that was the rushing attack against Indianapolis in week 1. The pass blocking wasn't great. Pass blocking wasn't great in game 2 and 3. Run blocking wasn't great in game 2 and 3. So the offensive line, if they just got down on their 10 feet, planted them in the ground, and took care of their business, that'd go a long way into soothing a lot to that matchup. And missing Nico Collins, you'd still miss him, but it'd be a little bit easier to stomach and handle if the offensive line took care of their business. One more note from the injury report. Jimmy Ward showed up as a did not practice in this one after being limited the day before with a groin injury. Remains to be seen if that's precautionary or a re-aggravation of the injury. But if Jimmy Ward can't go, a lot more Kalen Bullock and Eric Murray back there at the safety spot. And maybe Petrie's return to his traditional safety spot a little bit, though. They seem to really like him up there as that almost linebacker, not quite safety position that he's been playing through 3 games so far. What say you? Overreaction to Nico Collins' hamstring or valid conversation about exactly what the Texans can and should do if they don't have Nico Collins? I'm hoping that by Friday afternoon, this video is obsolete. We don't need to worry about it, and Nico Collins is going to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But if not, we know 3 ways the Texans can figure out how to survive without Nico Collins. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think of that. Let me know how your hamstring's feeling too, all right? I give Nico my hamstring if I could. I feel like it would be useless to him. You do 2 wide receiver moves with my hamstring, that thing's snap. I just happen to have a rubber band here. Boom, there goes my hamstring right there if I had to go do the Nico Collins stuff. So my hamstring wouldn't help him, but maybe one of you find healthy people would be able to help Nico Collins, give up your hamstring to him. So that, you know what? Actually, I'll make a deal. I'll take a little hamstring twinge if it gets Nico healthy. If we're bargaining with the football higher power. Okay. Yeah. I'll take one for the team. All right. Appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I can't wait till we talk Texans again soon. That rubber band hurt. Ow.